Hello and welcome back to my channel. It's been a little bit since I've seen you, but I'm back working on the Pontiac here. So I'm getting the drag links all brand new and put on, and so that essentially finishes the whole front end of the car as far as the suspension and the brakes go. And so now I have the power steering pump to put in, and I made a change to the fuel routing hose. We'll take a look at it, get going here. From before, the fuel line would run up and it would bow out and then go in. I didn't like that. That was just something I was doing to try and get this thing finished, but in the end I ordered some fittings and made this a more proper installation with a 90-degree bend there. It looks better. It's going to function better. Also, so this is a power steering mount bracket. Goes in the car like so. So the thing I was thinking about was to have the fuel line come up from underneath and exit through this opening. And looking at this, I think that maybe the engineers meant to bring that fuel line up through there at some point, but they changed it because it goes all the way through. And I'm thinking, why would they put that in there like that if they weren't, thinking about doing something like that? I don't know what that might have been for, but in retrospect, I deleted that idea because your fuel line would be running like right next to the engine block, and that's super hot, and that's going to be no good for fuel. You just don't want to have, your gasoline superheated coming into your fuel line, coming into your carburetor. I just don't think that's the way to go. So I modified this slightly for the fuel line right here. This casting, this rib came around here, and because the fuel line comes right along here, I just took a burr wheel and carved this out, and a little strip of rubber here, little 2-part putty epoxies holding that in. Good to go. So let's get this puppy in. For those of you that haven't thought of this, and I've had this kind of problem before, trying to work in a confined space and have a fitting spin around on me, I use a zip tie wrapped around here to keep this from spinning on me while I tighten the fitting down below. Here's another wrinkle. Damn foreign parts on my American car. This exit tube right here, low pressure return, this fitting down here is a 17 millimeter. I'm damn lucky I had one. I don't have many metric tools. Oh well. We'll get this tightened up, put the pump back on. Same thing for here. Just used a couple of zip ties to hold this. Looped it around that bolt there. Put the pump in now. There it is, finally in. See how it looks. See if they line up. Well, I think we got this lined up. I got me a level here, it's nice and straight. You can see no gaps. Running right down to the pulley on the crank. That's what we want. This wasn't exactly a done in one thing. Don't know what happened between the time I took it off and the time I put it back on, but this thing was giving me a real problem. I could get it even, you know, like this way, but you stand back and look at it, and it was tilted back a little bit, and it was off plane of the rest of the motor block there, and I couldn't figure out what to do until I had to like figure out how to pitch it forward a little bit. So I got this big spacer right here, and this surrounds the nut that the stud stand goes into. So instead of just that little nut resting up against this right here, there's this old big surface right here is resting up against, which I thought was a lot better. But anyway, so the reason why this yellow mark is here is that on the bottom of this, I find the right size, 16. Okay, there's a 1/16 inch wheel alignment shim I bought a kit of, you know, like you use right here, you know, shim. How they do it in the old days, they set your caster and camber, and I cut it. Let's see, get it back again. So I cut it like right along. I just cut these two tangs off right at the top, right? And took that spacer out and soldered it to the bottom of this spacer. So now when the bolt tightens up, it'll pull it back like this a little bit, and that straightened it right up. So that's how I cured that problem. So if you ever have that kind of problem, that's kind of like what I did. If you can come up with something better, leave it in the comments. There's got one right here. I'll be replacing that. I'm going to make a an aluminum spacer for that. That'll look nicer. And I got some nicer looking hardware coming for it too. And this was probably meant for many GM cars. Here's a threaded boss right here. Just to use this, I'm gonna make a bracket, you know, and come off and hold that fuel line in place just for something for it to do. So that pretty much does it. The way I had to bend these down here, now the low pressure tube is resting up against the inner fender well, so I didn't want that rubbing through and creating a leak. So I'm going to put this clamp on here, drill a hole, and call it a day. And I guess that's about it for that. If you've made it this far, thanks a lot. We got a few more subscribers come on board. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. And see you in the next installment. We are going to attempt, or I'm going to attempt to anyway, mix my own shade of Pontiac metallic blue engine paint. We'll see how that turns out. Till then, be cool.